In Activity 6, Musical Vibrations, students first investigate 3 ways to produce sound: by striking an object, plucking strings, or blowing across an opening in an object. Students then relate these methods of sound production to those that musicians use to play the 3 major categories of musical instruments: percussion instruments, stringed instruments, and wind instruments. You will need the following materials from the kit: Activity Sheet 6, Parts A and B, plastic bottles, tongue depressors, Sounds audio CD, string, and masking tape. You will also need to provide a CD player, scissors, and tap water. To prepare for the activity, make a copy of Activity Sheet 6, Parts A and B for each student. Set the sound CD on the CD player at Section 1, entitled Instruments. Cut 2 15-centimeter lengths of string for each team of 2. Each team of 2 will need 2 bottles, a tongue depressor, 2 15-centimeter lengths of string, and access to masking tape and tap water. To begin the activity, distribute the materials and ask, using the materials you have in front of you, in what different ways could you produce sounds? Accept all reasonable ideas. Lead the students to realize that they can produce sounds in 3 basic ways: by hitting the bottle with the tongue depressor, by blowing across the top of the bottle, and by stretching the string across the top of the bottle and plucking it. Next, give each student a copy of Activity Sheet 6, Part A. Review the directions in steps 1 through 3. Give students time to follow the directions and record their observations. Then, review the directions in steps 4 through 6. Have the students complete the steps and record their observations. Tell them to answer the last question. Discuss the students' observations with the class. Ask, when you hit the empty bottle and the bottle containing water, were the sounds different? The sound produced by striking an object depends on that object's size, shape, and the materials it contains. Adding water changes the size of the airspace in the bottle, as well as adding another material that adds its different vibrations to the others. Ask students, how is a percussion instrument played? Can you name one? The students may know that a percussion instrument is an instrument played by striking or shaking it. Some may volunteer the drum, xylophone, or tambourine as examples. Then ask, how did you play a percussion instrument in this activity? The students played a percussion instrument by tapping on the bottle with the tongue depressor. Next, ask students, when you plucked the strings on the 2 bottles, were the sounds the same? Why or why not? The students will say they were different, but their reasons will vary. Accept all explanations for now. Explain that the string on one bottle may have been stretched a little more tightly than the string on the other. Even the thickness of the plastic in the bottles may vary slightly and could have changed the vibrations enough so students could hear the difference. Then ask students, do you know how a stringed instrument is played? Can you name one? Most students should be able to say that some stringed instruments, such as guitars, are played by plucking their strings, and that others, such as violins, are usually played by rubbing a bow across their strings. Ask students, how did you play a stringed instrument in this activity? By plucking the string stretched across the mouth of the bottle. Ask students, when you blew across the mouth of the empty bottle, and then the mouth of the bottle containing water, were the sounds the same? Why or why not? Some students will recall from your explanation of their first experiment that the water and different sized air spaces in the bottles made a difference in the vibrations. Then ask, how is a wind instrument played? Can you name one? A wind instrument is one that is played by blowing air into it or across a hole in it. They may mention a trumpet or a flute, among others. Ask students, How did you play a wind instrument in this activity? By blowing across the mouth of the bottle. Next, tell the students that you are going to play sounds of a variety of instruments and that they are going to try to identify each instrument as a percussion, stringed, or wind instrument. Play Section 1, entitled Instruments. Stop after each instrument has finished playing and ask, what kind of instrument do you think you just heard? Percussion, stringed, or wind? Most of the students will be able to categorize the instrument. Some may be able to name it. The instruments are, in order, drum, piccolo, cello, clarinet, maraca, flute, guitar, xylophone, trumpet, cymbals, fiddle, and trombone. Ask students, which instruments are played by striking or shaking them, plucking or bowing them, blowing air in them? Help students figure out that the drum, maraca, xylophone, and the cymbals are percussive instruments. The cello, guitar, and fiddle are string instruments, and the piccolo, clarinet, flute, trumpet, and trombone are wind instruments. Finally, give each student a copy of Activity Sheet 6, Part B. As a class, invite volunteers to identify each instrument by name. Then, instruct students to identify each pictured instrument as percussion, stringed, or wind. As you discuss each instrument and how it is played, give students time to fill in their activity sheets. To conclude the activity, have the students remove and discard the string and tape from the bottles. Empty the water from the bottles and leave them to air dry. Return the dry bottles and the tongue depressors to the kit. For science background, reinforcement activities, curriculum connections, and information about the Delta Science Reader, please consult your DSM Teacher's Guide.